Half a day. Welcome, everyone. The Committee on Health, Land, Justice, and Culture is now called to order. Today's Friday, October 8th, 2021. Time is 2:33 p.m. Notices for this confirmation hearing were disseminated via email to all senators and all main media broadcasting outlets on Friday, October 1st, and again on Wednesday, October 6th, 2021. The notice was also published in the Guam Daily Post on Friday, October 1st, and again on Wednesday, October 6th, 2021. This is a virtual meeting hosted by the Guam Legislature's AV staff and committee staff, and they will host all Zoom participants until called upon by the chair. Individuals testifying shall first be recognized by the chair, and please state your name for record-keeping purposes. We have two agenda items today, and they are both appointments. The first is the appointment of Veronica M. Salas to serve as a member of the COSAS Board of Advisors for a term length of 4 years from August 27, 2018 to August 26, 2022. The second item on our agenda is the appointment of Sean M. Mendiola to serve as a member, Manhoban representative of the COSAS Board of Advisors for a term length of 4 years from August 16, 2019 to August 15, 2023. I'd like to thank my colleagues for attending and recognize the presence of my Vice Chair, Senator Sabina Perez, Senator Terlaje, and Senator Joanne Brown. Situsmasi senators for being present today. All right. Of course, I'd like to thank the appointees for being here with us today and for making time for this confirmation hearing. I know they want to fill the vacancies on this board as soon as possible, so we try to accommodate that. And before we hear from the panel, so this is for the COSAS Board of Advisors. So I'd like to read just a little bit from the statutes as what it says about the COSAS Board of Advisors. It says that the COSAS, or Guam Museum, is mandated to promote increased understanding of Guam's geology, biota, prehistory, history, and contemporary culture as the official repository and custodian of historical artifacts of Guam. COSAS is mandated to acquire, preserve, and make available for public viewing artifacts and archival materials relating to the cultural, historical, and natural heritage of Guam. The board is composed of 5 members appointed by the governor, subject to advice and consent of the legislature. 1 member must be a SINA representative, 1 a Manhoban representative, and 1 shall be a member with extensive formal experience or education in Guam history or museum administration. Most of the terms for these COSAS board members are 4 years. Some of the terms that we've talked about today for the 2 nominees are to fill vacant positions, and that's why they are dated, in the past. But those are because that's when the position actually began, and so they will now be filling the vacancies going forward until the end of that particular term. The COSAS board's duties is to serve in an advisory capacity to the trustees and to ensure that the collections storage conditions conform to the guidelines and standards established by the U.S. Department of Interior, and adopt policies for exhibitions, collections, acquisitions, collection deaccessioning, and for merchandise sales by COSAS or by vendors operating under lease agreements. Perform general reviews and evaluations of COSAS programs. And of course, to do any and all things necessary to accomplish its mission. Currently, there are 2 COSAS board members and 3 vacancies. The 2 members include Dr. Don Rubenstein and Mr. Joe Meno. The 3 vacancies are caused by the resignations of Dr. Laura Sauter in February 2021, the resignation of Simeon Palomo on April 5th, 2021, and the resignation of Vincent Regis on July 16, 2021. So Ms. Salas, we have with us Veronica Salas, she's the appointee, has been appointed to fill the unexpired term of Mr. Simeon Palomo. And I want to thank you, Ms. Salas, for accepting this appointment. And the other nominee is appointed as the Manhoban representative. Sorry, I can't tell which position he is filling here, but I will proceed. All right. So we thought we would combine the hearings on the two of you since it's the same board, and I'm expecting the senators will have similar questions for both of you. And so if you don't mind, I'd like to recognize the presence of the Deputy Director of the Department of Agriculture, and of course the curator, that is Adrian Cruz, the curator of the Guam Museum, Dr. Michael Bevacqua, and the administrator of the Guam Museum, Leona Young. Thank you for being here. And
thank you, Speaker.
All right, we're going to begin now. We'll begin with Ms. Salas. Ms. Salas, the Deputy Director, Adrian Cruz, signed up to testify, and also Ruby Tan. So Deputy Director, if you would like to proceed, you are welcome.
Thank you, Speaker. I'm sorry I'm a little late. I just got out of a meeting and I'm in the car.
All right.
I'd like to present.
If you could you turn on your video? We'd like to get our rules require us to get the video of those testifying. Is that
Thank
possible?
you, Speaker. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. Again, sorry, I just left the meeting and I'm on my way back to the office. I'd like to testify on behalf of Veronica Salas. She is currently an employee at the Department of Agriculture. I also know her in her personal capacity as a jewelry maker of traditional and modern versions of Chamorro jewelry, and helping to spread our culture everywhere through her works of art. Veronica has been engaged in this for a long time, and she's over the years displayed her passion for promoting and protecting our Chamorro culture. I really appreciate the way that she brings this sort of attitude and idea and enthusiasm everywhere she goes, even within our own department. She's always showing her jewelry, always pointing things out and trying to ensure that aspects of Chamorro culture are in everything that she does, including when she makes flyers or anything. She always strives to do this. And I think being part of the COSAS board is really about that. It's about sharing our things, sharing our heritage with everybody. And Veronica, in her professional and private life, has more than shown that. I think she's a great addition. A lot of the times, people think that our museum is something static, something on which we just hold, artifacts of a bygone age. But people like Veronica, who live this kind of cultural awareness, really show that culture is not just simply a museum piece. It's something that's alive and breathing, something that evolves, something that can become new every day in the things that we make, in the way that we speak, in the way that we live our lives. And so I just want to voice my support. I thank you, Madam Speaker, and all the esteemed senators for taking the time to hear this. And I hope you sincerely try to see the value of having somebody who's a cultural practitioner like this be on the COSAS board. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Director. Ms. Tan, Ruby Tan.
Hi, everyone. Firstly, this is a huge honor. So for people who don't know, I'm from Singapore, and I met Veronica when she took time off to go to New Zealand. And so did I. That was how we met. So both of us kind of went on a journey that we had taken for like similar but different reasons. Both of us had never lived abroad, and we were at the age where trying something new like that, was quite a risk to take. I think at that point I was 29 and she was 31. We were also hanging out amongst like 19-year-olds. So for the both of us, like it was quite a nice respite for each other's company, when we needed a break from all the younger people. So anyway, I'll move on. And from there, we kind of got really connected. We stayed in touch. This 2017 was like 4 years ago. And I have a lot of love, respect, and awe for Veronica. And I know her very much more on a personal level. So that's what I can speak to. So Veronica has really been an absolute pillar in my life. And I know she has done the same for others. She's always listened to my stories, my struggles with no judgment. She validates my experiences. She reminds me of what an amazing person I can be, celebrates my wins with me, and encourages me to keep going with the life that I dream of. With Veronica, I find that I have the safe space to express my true self, and I think that's a really treasured thing to have in the world. I know that it's always been of utmost importance for Veronica to honor and preserve the Chamorro essence and traditions. She's told me so many stories. She's sent me videos of chant groups. She told me stories of her land. She's taken me on an ocean ceremony in New Zealand where she blew on her shell horn. I feel very privileged, very grateful to be privy to these aspects of her culture. And I know even amongst the interactions that we've had with other New Zealanders, she never hesitates to share her stories and parts of her culture. And I know even the creations that she made with something that is really important to another culture, the Maori culture, when it comes to their jade. She even infuses part of her Chamorro culture with that. And I think that's really quite magical. So on top of that, she's shown me the many amazing things she's made with her love, her spirit, and her hands. And through kind of our kindred connection, I feel that it's always quite easy for me to pick up on the energetic essence of the pieces that she creates. And I think that's testimony to how strongly Veronica channels and imprints when she's making things with her hands. Lastly, I have utmost respect for Veronica's decision to always walk her life in grace and integrity. I've been privy to some of her personal challenges, and I'm always inspired by the patience and the grace that she chooses to extend to others. In her personal life, Veronica has also needed to make difficult decisions at times because of her integrity. And I really do need to emphasize that I'm using the words like decision and choose because Veronica consciously makes the effort to embody those values, even when it's easier not to. So with that, Veronica, I'm super excited. I second everything that Deputy Director Adrian Cruz said when it comes to your integrity and your heart for your culture and how important it is for you to maintain that. And you deserve to have your heart and your conservation efforts recognized. So I'm super happy for you. Thank you so much, everyone, for me to speak in this space. I think that's truly an honor. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Tan. If you could wait with us after all the testimony, then senators will ask questions of anyone on the panel. Thank you again. And Veronica, I just want to let you know that while Ms. Tan was talking about your skills, people were sending me via WhatsApp pictures of the earrings that you have made, and they truly are beautiful. So thank you. But all right, so I'm still accepting testimony on behalf of either of the nominees. If anyone else who's present would like to present testimony on behalf of either of the nominees. Ms. Leon Guerrero, did you want to present? Maria Juenia, you're recognized.
Yes, thank you.
Please say your
I'm
name.
also in my car.
Please say your name.
Okay. Happy thank you, honorable speaker and senators. My name is Maria Juenia Leon Guerrero, and I am very pleased to provide testimony this afternoon in support of the appointment of Veronica Salas to the COSAS Board of Advisors. I have known Veronica, or Ronnie, since the fall of 2015. I was recruited to join the Ifanlatlayan Oral History Project just prior to FESPAC 2016. Ronnie was part of this group, which is dedicated to the art of traditional stylized Chamorro chant. The experience of preparing for FESPAC caused our group caused our group to bond in an intense way. And in particular, Ronnie has become one of my dearest friends. Within the context of Ifan the Lion, I'm sorry, one moment. Within the context of Ifan the Lion, Ronnie's role is a specialist with regard to traditional jewelry, ornamentation, and attire. Although she honestly brings so much more to the table than simply that. As long as I have known Ronnie, she is always on a constant journey to discover and evolve. She had a keen interest in becoming an apprentice for traditional Chamorro jewelry, but this did not come easily. She took the initiative to apply for a traditional jewelry workshop in New Zealand, as we heard from the previous testimony, and she was accepted. There, she learned about traditional Maori jewelry crafting techniques, though I know in her heart, she always intended to bring these skills home and apply them to our unique materials, resources, and cultural community here in the Marianas. I admire Ronnie so much because although she did not formally apprentice under one of our local masters, she had the tenacity to figure things out on her own. Her jewelry pieces are literally stunning works of art. Not only are they beautiful, but they are imbued with symbolism and purpose rooted in our history and cultural practices. In Veronica Salas, the COSAS board will be gaining the eye and sensibilities of a true creative soul, with a breadth and depth of knowledge of our people's history and culture. In closing, I wholeheartedly endorse her for this prestigious role, and I thank you all for your time and attention today.
Thank you very much for making the time to present that testimony, and it really does help us to know the person who's being nominated through all this testimony. Is there anyone else who would like to present testimony on either of the nominees? If not, then we will hear from the nominees themselves. We will begin with, we'll begin with Ms. Salas and then Mr. Mendiola.
Hafaday, Madam Speaker Terlaje, distinguished guests and family and friends. I'm very grateful for the overwhelming support of everyone today. Thank you all so much for your beautiful words and testimonies. And to Magahagan Guahan Leon Guerrero and Lieutenant Governor Tenorio for appointing me to the COSAS Board of Advisors. Thank you as well. 5 years ago, with the opening of the Guam Museum, I remember thinking to myself, wow, I must find a way in, but I didn't know how exactly or what that meant. It was just an overwhelming feeling of knowing that when you have to be a part of something somehow. And so I made the necessary inquiries and each one failing. And as is life, choices and roads seem to just lead farther away, with dreams of the museum also fading. So I pursued my other interests, as you've heard from my testimonies today, staying deeply rooted in our Chamorro fight for preservation and perpetuation. I sought out our local practitioners. I studied abroad in Aotearoa. I did my own research travels to our sister islands throughout Pacifica. And I've worked with local organizations to learn and really just try to absorb everything. I always felt, I wanted to give back, to reciprocate. And the experiences, they've been fulfilling and enriching. And it's also taught me that things will happen as they're supposed to, as I was completely surprised when approached to be a part of the COSAS board. It's funny how things happen sometimes, and I'm amazed at how this came to be. And with the voices of grandmothers before me scolding me for doubting, I'm truly humbled. And I want to emphasize that I don't take this appointment lightly, and I'm determined to get to work. This is something I've been waiting for, and so I'm ready. We're a place and a people rich in resources, and our history really provides the necessary wisdom and inspiration in our continual quest in enriching our identity. I believe the responsibility lies with all of us to find ways in which we can contribute in moving our efforts forward, or as in my case, letting the way find you. Thank you again to everyone here today, and to those no longer here that have provided safe passage somehow, to you too, Sizuas Masi. Thank you.
Sizuas Masi, Veronica Salas. We will now hear from Sean Mendiola, the other COSAS nominee. I just want to note for the record that we have received written testimony in support of Mr. Mendiola from Eileen Armeno, Sina Bailan Chamorro, from Richard Kidigwa, Chamorro language and culture teacher, from Jonathan D.T. Perez, Fafanagui Guma Ininan I Senata. We have just 1 second. All right, there's also Mr. Mendiola who has called our office and said you are his nephew and he supports your confirmation as well. And so without further ado, Mr. Mendiola, we would like to hear from you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Yes, unfortunately, none of my friends and family couldn't provide live testimony. So to speak on their behalf, to explain who I am and to share with you guys, my name is Sean Michael Mendiola, born to Barbara San Agustin Mendiola and Michael Menendez Cruz. I was born and raised here on Guam, and I recently married Latasha Munoz Mendiola, and we just had a beautiful baby girl not too long ago. So lots of exciting things coming up in this life. I grew up in both the northern and southern regions of the island. So I do have a taste and sense of the different style of culture that we can get around the island. I'm currently employed at the University of Guam as a safety officer, and I've been there for about 3 to 4 years. And I am also in the Guam Army National Guard, serving as a combat medic, healthcare specialist. I've been in the organization for about 7 years now. I am currently assigned to the University of Guam Fieldhouse, getting the COVID vaccination into the arms of our island residents. It's been quite a while there, but it's really great to have a involvement in protecting our island during this pandemic. Yes, so it's very fortunate that I can serve in both military and civilian capacities, and to also reach out to the community and help promote and perpetuate the culture through the Chamorro dance groups that I have been a part of. I have been assisting Sina Jonathan Perez with Guma Inina ni Sainata since 2014, and with his group, we have also traveled abroad to the Philippines a couple of times to share our culture with the cultural festivals that they do hold there annually. And with the Guam Visitors Bureau, I've also traveled to Korea to kind of share our language and our culture for travel expositions. But yes, besides my military and civilian careers, I was also introduced to the Chamorro dance since the age of 8. And throughout those years, just the accumulation of songs, dances, and chants have helped promote and develop Chamorro language within me. So it's pretty exciting just seeing how I've evolved as a person, as an individual. And I'm only excited to keep that ball rolling and see where we can go from there. And hopefully, we can continue my quest in becoming a Chamorro language teacher, currently taking classes with the University of Guam. But before I end, I would just like to acknowledge the mentors who have helped me throughout the years. As mentioned earlier, Sina Eileen Meno, Master of Chamorro Dance, Sina Frank Rabon, Master as well, and my previous mentors, Senor Adam Diego, Senor Dana Kim, and Senor Jonathan Perez. And without these individuals, I probably wouldn't have a sense of pride for my culture and my heritage. So I really give great thanks to them for laying those stepping stones for me and for others as well in our community. And lastly, Madam Speaker, thank you for giving me time to speak and to introduce myself to the panel.
I'm honored actually to hold this hearing. It's been a while since we have heard from the COSAS board, so I'm very happy that we are focusing on our museum here and we are focusing on our culture. So it's a great day for me to be able to do this. So, and I want to thank both of you again from the bottom of my heart for taking on this responsibility. And your stories are very touching. I mean, very inspiring actually. So I want you to please, I'm asking you to keep up the good work. It sounds very encouraging. I'm going to ask you a few questions now, and then I'm going to open it up for the other senators to also ask you questions. Okay. First of all, do you have any continuing business or other interests that may be in conflict with your performing duties as a member of the COSAS board? For example, do you have any business that does business with the Guam Museum or any other type of conflict that you can foresee? Ms. Salas, we'll begin with you.
No, I don't.
Mr. Mendiola?
No, Madam Speaker.
All right. And then what about time commitment? Are you both going to be, this board is short of members right now, so it does need, in order to make a quorum, your presence. So how is that going to work out? Are you going to be able to make that time commitment? Ms. Salas?
Yes, ma'am, I will.
All right. And you've discussed it with your employer? They will be, or you'll be able to make that? Mr. Mendiola?
Oh, yes, Madam Speaker, I do have the time available to share.
All right. And your responsibilities on this board are actually, it's very timely that we're having this hearing today because, curation of the items in the museum, it's a much bigger issue than it sounds, I think, because of what we are facing today. We are facing, gathering of the items is one of the issues. The continued destruction of areas around Guam that can make a continued need for advocacy and a continued need for, what is going to happen to those places and the historic artifacts that are recovered from those areas. Because right now we have in place a policy that is allowing what they call data recovery, which is pretty much remove everything from the area and then, you get to do whatever you want. But I'm hoping that you as board members will find a way, just as you found a way to this board, that you're going to find a way to that role as well, where you are going to be able to actively participate in preventing any further destruction of these places so that we do not have to look at our cultural sites in a museum and that we can actually, look at those where in their natural places. And so we can get full context. And I'm sure, you understand, we can learn a lot from museums, but we can learn a lot as well from preserving things in place so that future generations, and their capabilities will also be able to add to our stories, right? And our heritage. Are there programs in particular that you would like to see implemented in the Guam Museum or by the Guam Museum, Ms. Salas?
Yeah, I definitely like what you said about, just not having things to view in the museum, but having them viewed live and in their place. So I think more programs or efforts to do that is something I'm very interested in. Part of my journey has always been, I think all of us with our continual search for our identity. And one of the things I've always shared with people that I've come in contact with is seeing it beyond the museum, seeing it as a living, breathing entity and not just behind glass cases. So definitely live viewing of things is something I'm interested in. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mendiola?
Yes, I do agree with what Veronica had mentioned. More programs definitely to engage our community in dialogue and allowing for them to understand the need to protect our resources, which do include our ancient artifacts. And yes, keeping them in place is definitely better than removing them from its natural state and placing them in a wooden glass box for display. So keeping things where they are at is definitely probably what's best for our island and for the continuation of our culture.
I note that both of you as cultural practitioners and artists and community, very active in the community, that you have helped all of us to do this. Especially your group, Veronica, that whenever we want to do something special, we look to you, right? And we look to you to help us to make it special, to commemorate, to remember, from the ancient language and an alive language, right? And so I really want to thank you for your efforts in that regard, and for having done already what you've described, right? Keeping it alive and keeping all of us active in it and together, as well as you, Mr. Mendiola. And I really want to commend you for wanting to bring this forward to the younger people as a teacher. And I hope that brings you much. I can't imagine that will not bring you anything but joy, right? I mean, sadness, but with joy, because in the bigger picture, that is exactly what we need right now. And I want to thank you. And hopefully, I am hoping the two of you will find a way to get all of our students into that museum. I know that Leona and Dr. Miguet are also working on that, but I want the Manamkul and the children in there, like, constantly. I just think it's a treasure of ours that we very much need to share and allow them access. And so my office is open to help you in any way as you serve on this board. And I want to thank you again for making that commitment and bringing all of your experiences to date into this. I think it's really going to be a good thing for Guam. I'm going to open it now to Senator Paris.
Happy Veronica and Sean. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Yes, so I can attest to Veronica. I've had, I did a project with her. In fact, I think, was it 2 years ago, where we did a Chamorro language immersion summer program in Luta. And I think this is one of the first ones, if I'm not mistaken, maybe in a long time. So I can attest to her commitment to preservation of our culture. And she was very, she's, from my experience, she was very, she's a good listener, very easy to work with. Definitely her heart's in Chamorro preservation of the Chamorro culture, as well as promoting it. Sean, it's great to meet you. It seems like you're very empowered and you have a track record for such a young age. So, I think you guys both make great candidates to be on this board to advise the museum on, how to perpetuate our culture and our language. I know the speaker asked many good questions. She asked most of the questions that I had, but then maybe if you could just, I have maybe a follow-up question for both of you. So I know with you, Veronica, it's about a year left of the term, and Sean, it's about 2 years left of your term. So what is your vision for, doing the things that you would like to see with this board, or what advice would you give to the trustees as far as, perpetuating our culture, our language through the museum? So this can go with whoever's ready to go first.
Okay, so I'll take number one. So probably some advice, which can also go towards me as, I guess, a viewer of the museum, opening up to not only to tackle the, like what Speaker Terlaje mentioned, not to only tackle the younger generation, but to reach out to the older generations and to invite them in to kind of remind them of their past, their lineage, to view what we do have in the museum. And it's probably just a refresher for our island to see what we do have there. Looking back at our history is always the best source of knowledge to see where we can move forward as a people. And definitely just opening it up and constantly reminding our people that our museum is here and it is open for everyone to see.
Okay, and do you have any ideas for exhibits?
Exhibits, well, I believe the current exhibit is the different phases of Guam history. So possibly an idea that I would offer for a display could possibly be more of these historical figures in our more recent past that have also helped shape where the island is today. So historical figures, people of importance, and just to kind of highlight who they are and how they've helped create Guam to the island that we are.
Okay, thank you so much, Sean. So Veronica, the same question. So what would you like to accomplish in, I believe, 1 year's left of this term? Yeah, what would you like to see? And maybe perhaps what would be an exhibit that you would like to see in this first year?
The jewelry exhibit, of course. I'm a jeweler. I'm a traditional and contemporary carver. So of course I'm going to push for that. And also just because I believe jewelry is a very important part of identity and very unique to specific places. Our orange spondylus bead, money bead, shines out wherever we go. You know, I think that there's many different aspects of jewelry that we can use to promote and push forward our identity, and just really just put it out there, put it on display, and all in one place. You know, if my journey with jewelry was finding bits and pieces of it at other sort of grassroots efforts in showing it. And so to find it all in one place, I think, and we have many talented up and comers, and of course we have our masters already who have contributed to this aspect of our identity. But a collaborative effort, I think, would, on a very grand scale, displaying our identity through jewelry would be a very interesting exhibit, I think. And you also asked about the next year and how to sort of promote the museum and get it out there. With the pandemic, a lot of our children are on virtual learning. So maybe partnering with schools and other institutes of learning in finding ways to, you know, the video that is played when you first enter the museum, when you go up into the theater, and the story of Ponton and Fotna is displayed. I think that's a very important story of ours and displayed beautifully at the museum. And it's a collaboration of all of our practitioners, you know, on the island. I think that that's one way to reach a mass audience, is to just put it out there virtually through schools. And again, I know senior centers aren't in, Sean, you mentioned the Manamco, but maybe we can find ways to reach them. And that video, that very important video of our creation story, I think would be a good start.
Well, thank you so much for those responses. I have no further questions, so I thank you both for stepping up to the plate, and we look forward to seeing your contributions. Masi.
Thank you, Senator. I'd like to acknowledge that the Guam Museum has actually made strides in access, or giving access to those during even the pandemic by their virtual tours, right? Dr. Bivacqua, I know that you've provided this for Manamco in particular, and for those in also the dementia classes or support groups. And so great efforts. I want to commend you. Keep it up. And I know you're doing a lot more of the virtual sessions. And so I know we're all trying to find creative ways. So you've got all the creative people here. It's a great effort. Senator Taitigui, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and half a day to you, Veronica, and Sean as well. Thank you so much for stepping up to the plate. You know, this topic matter, of course, is very dear to all four senators, you know, well, three, myself included, that are here today, because we have a love for keeping our culture alive, and definitely to teach the next generation so that they too can keep this alive. Telling the story is so important. And I think this is the avenue to do that at a museum, to tell the story. So I look forward to your input with regards to how you can tell the story, and where are you going to take this story to. One of the things that was mentioned earlier about taking this outside of the museum, and I'm hoping that means, you know, to visit the schools, you know, to get the next generation, the young generation, to be excited about wanting to go to the museum to see what new displays there are, what new items that have come up. You know, there's so many options here, and I'm just really glad that finally, you know, we're going to get a board together to do this. But by the way, I don't know who can answer this. Maybe Dr. Mike can answer this. Whether the two of you, will you be able to now make quorum for the board? Okay, there, Leona.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, Leona. Okay, great. So this now will be able to make quorum. Okay, so
Right.
that's really good to see. Okay, and here. So, you know, it's you know, the layer of Chamorro Affairs. You know, there's Chamorro Affairs that oversees the museum, but they have their own board that oversees them. And then you have the museum, and now the museum has their own board, which is yours, you know, COSAS. So because of these layers and stuff, and of course, everyone's fighting for the same pot of gold, what are your ideas on assisting the museum for funding? Let's start with you, Sean. Any ideas on how to help the museum in this area?
So with funding, I believe reaching out to our local businesses and offering, I guess, requesting for or soliciting donations to help upkeep the museum and encourage other artists, such as Veronica, to display their art, their jewelry, and having these donations, it kind of pushes away from the same pot that the museum has to work with. So receiving all these outside donations can definitely limit the stress on the budget for the museum.
Okay, thank you, Sean. Veronica?
I think an interesting way for funding, I'd like to get, once we're able to meet, but the board's ideas on a traveling exhibit. I possibly, you know, I mean, when we travel, we go into museums around the world, and we're more than happy to pay to see these beautiful treasures, and they're just to get a breadth of their history, you know. And so maybe a traveling museum might be something to consider. I know there's some issues with the pandemic and some logistical things that might present itself, but I think it's definitely probably something we should consider. Just one idea.
And okay, thank you, Veronica. Leona, correct me if I'm wrong on this one, but the funding that does come for the museum, does COSAS have control of the revenues they received? And do they also receive the funding of the museum entrance fee? Does this board oversee that funding?
No, they don't oversee financial matters and processes. Currently, Department of Chamorro Affairs is our sort of procurement arm. And so the museum staff is in place to handle admissions and curation work and other programs and administrative work, but the Department of Chamorro Affairs hires the administrative officer and the administrative assistants and other program folks to process all the monies that do come in and to handle the budgeting. But now with a full set of board, and also the curator position was just recently filled, and then the administrator position that I'm in is filled. So hopefully we can have a more active role in that process that DCA has overseen for so many years.
So COSAS will be overseeing your position as well as Dr. Bavakia's, position. So they would be overseeing that as well as what's in the museum and how the museum operates. Is that correct?
Yes, we would love to have a more active COSAS board. Although the mandate is an advisory mandate, they can give recommendations and guidance and input so that we can move forward, and DCA can help us execute that. But by law, a lot of our procurement and financial matters do go through Department of Chamorro Affairs.
Okay, Okay, well then that's good for you, Sean and Veronica. The less you have to do with finances, the better. You can focus on, creating the story, telling the story to our people and definitely to our next generation. I mean, sweat would be off my head knowing that I don't have to worry about that. So I wish you two the very best. And I want to thank you so much for contributing, Sean. If you're under Frank Rabon, I was under him once upon a time when I used to dance or perform. I know that he has steered you in the right direction of having the love and heart for our culture. And Veronica, I've heard some great things about you. And whenever Senator Sabina, likes an individual and has worked with them, that goes a long, long way in my book. So you must be pretty special. So I wish you both the very best. God bless and please be safe. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Taitakui. Senator Brown, you're recognized.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and certainly appreciate the efforts of both Ms. Salas and Mr. Mandela and their interest in wanting to continue to perpetuate our culture and also their own contribution. I agree with you, Madam Speaker. It's quite refreshing to hear from young people, how they feel about what they're doing and have a passion for it, and especially for our culture and the revival of our culture. Normally, that's something you hear from people much older, and a lot of younger people are more self-absorbed these days than looking at how they can continue to bring back to life who and what we are and where we have come from. So very appreciative of your interest in wanting to serve. I don't have much more to add. I certainly wish you well in your appointments and serving on the COSAS board, and continue to do all the wonderful things that you're doing. With that, Madam Chair, thank you for the opportunity to comment on these two nominees.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who'd like to add anything before we conclude today? If not, again, I want to thank both of you and all of you who testified. First of all, let me thank you. And of course, thanks to those from the museum for being here. But thank you to all of you who testified. It's really been helpful for you to share your experiences and knowledge of these people who will be representing us on this board, and that we are placing our trust in to bring the museum forward and to make sure that it represents all of us, right? And so I'm very excited at the experience that you have, the passion that you have, and that you will be bringing that to this service for our public. There being no additional individuals to present for the testimony, this committee will continue to remain open for the next 5 working days following this hearing for the acceptance of any additional public testimony. You may submit testimonies to my office at the Guam Legislature in the Guam Congress Building or through email at senatorterlajeguam@gmail.com. The public hearing is now adjourned. The time is 3:21 p.m. Si Dios mas y todos. Thank you.